can you hear the drums? If so, then you usually have 3 options available to you. You can either stay, go insane, or run away. If you stay, you get to become a Time Lord. If you go insane, then you're like the Master. But if you run, keep running, and never stop running, then you could be the next Doctor. Hello and welcome to a very special unboxing, where we're going to be unboxing the Doctor Who Collector's Booster. Now, what I think Wizards have done is actually really smart, because this little box here contains new cards. But alternatively, these new cards are available in the Doctor Who decks, which means that if you buy the Doctor Who Commander decks and then you go out and buy this, there are no new cards for you. Instead, the Collector's Booster is actually what it's set out to do and set out to be, which is literally just alternate treatments of the new cards. So instead, if you want just the new cards, you just need to go out and buy the decks. So, enough prattling from me. Let's dive right into it and see what the Doctor has to offer us. Now, I am a big Doctor Who fan and have been for quite a while. But I'm not at the professor level, like the professor from Talarian Community College. I'm not at his level yet, where I can just rattle off random Doctor Who trivia and things like that. So, sure, I know some stuff, but not quite. So I probably won't be mentioning the actors who played them as much, unless I know them. So the first thing is we're off to the races with, well, it looks like a Surge foil of a basic land, except for these are called the TARDIS lands, I believe, because they've got the TARDIS in there. And I believe that's the TARDIS at Bad Wolf Bay. Right, so our first actual Doctor is the 11th Doctor, played by Matt Smith. A lot of people really like him. He's also, I believe, one of the youngest to play the Doctor. But aside from that, he's very popular and is the one who thinks that fezzes are cool. Fezzes aren't cool. We have a Weeping Angel, which are great, especially with the fact that it has Flash, First Strike, and Vigilance. So it's kind of cool. Would be nice if it had the ability to make more angels, but instead it just sticks around, which is probably more relevant. Now here we have an alternate. So this is a card that actually already exists. So with the Weeping Angel and 11th Doctor, they're brand new cards. But this is an alternate. Well, this is an alternate variant of the Deserted Beach card that already exists, and this is the one with the Impossible Astronaut. So this is basically a Doctor Who land. Then we have the Sibylline Soothsayer, which is an uncommon. A Temple of Mystery. I'm not sure what temple that is, because there are a lot of temples in Doctor Who. If you know, let me know in the comments. But other than that, I'm not 100% sure. And now we have the Auton Soldiers. Woo! Now, I think that this is kind of cool, because this is the first enemy that shows up in the first episode of the 2005 Revival series, which means that these are the ones that introduced the 9th Doctor, Christopher Eccleston, into our lives. So it's nice that they get a nod. While at the same time being a copy ability in Commander, which is always, always, always good. Then we have an Exotic Orchard, which is pretty much a Commander staple in a lot of decks. Doesn't look much like an orchard, but it's nice at least it's not a forbidden orchard, because that doesn't really fit in with any Doctor Who episodes or anything like that. I mean, it can be Doctor Who-y because it's got a orchard that like spits out spirits, which is kind of cool, but not in an episode yet, if I recall. Time Reaper, which is nice. Once again, a once-off. I don't want to say villain, because they aren't a villain, but they're portrayed as a villain initially. Which is one of the good things about Doctor Who, where the villains aren't always the villains. Sometimes they're just misunderstood, or just we're not seeing things from their perspective. But that's the one where Rose tries to save her dad from being run down by a car. Temple of Deceit. Now, this is Satellite 5, and this was an interesting episode because it was basically a cross-promotion with BBC game shows that were on at the time, like The Weakest Link. So it's kind of fun. And then we have a Surge Foil. Ooh. Surge Foil of the Sisterhood of Khan. Not our big metal friend Khan, who's recently been desparked, but different. And I believe that they are the ones, with the goblet, that do a force pseudo-regeneration. It gets weird. Where we turn the 8th Doctor into the War Doctor. Which is one of the weird ones because it's like it's a doctor, but it's not really, because it's like in between. Sort of like how we know that the fugitive doctor is a doctor, but might not be a doctor. Sort of like how the Valeyard was a doctor, but not really. Then we have an alternate art. Well, an alternate. I don't want to call them alternate arts, because alternate arts can be anything with like extended art, but alternate art is pretty close. Surge Foil alternate art of Vine Glimmer Snarl, which is the ones where you need to show like something that has a forest or island, otherwise it enters the battlefield tapped. And then of course even non-Whovians know about Wibbly Wobbly Timey Wimey, which is great. I think that's kind of nice how it sort of permeated the general zeitgeist. But then of course it's got the new time travel ability, which basically means for each suspended card you own and each permanent you control with a time counter, you can add or remove one, which comes in really handy in the 9 and 10 decks. Wait, 9, 10, 11 decks. And it also lets you draw a card, which is also good, because drawing a card is great. Now we have the Master, Mesmerist. Clearly a rock and roll fan. I'm not a big fan of many of the Masters. I mean, I know that they're supposed to be evil and all that, and so we're not supposed to like them. But they always sort of seemed like off in the corner cackling to me. And it's like, yes, I get that they're smart, but their one thing is that they run away quicker than the Doctor. But also, in the new TARDIS format, which is really kind of cool. Next up, we have the Second Doctor, which is great. Not much to say about him. He was a good Doctor, played the flute a lot. But also, one thing that was pointed out to me that I now can't unsee, so now I'm going to make sure that you guys can't unsee it as well, is the background. In the background is basically the image of their intro sequence, I suppose is the best way to say. So like when the Doctor Who theme is playing, each Doctor has its own sort of like intro sequence. Sometimes with their face, sometimes with just the Doctor Who logo, things like that. And that's the Second Doctor's behind him. And of course, a Surge Foil Dalek token. Is it double-sided? Yes, it's double-sided. With the Beast token that's made from the Beast Within. But more importantly, the Dalek. Classic Doctor Who villain. Anyway, so as I said, I'm not going to mention much about the actors because the actors are sort of inconsequential. I mean, they did have some say in a lot of how the Doctor was written, but not much. So now we have a TARDIS Forest. Oh, timey-wimey needs to be over there. TARDIS Forest. And we have the 10th Doctor. Face card. So if you haven't seen the what is it, the timey-wimey deck, then the 10th Doctor is the face card. Him and Rose. So he's kind of cool. He suspends cards off the top of your deck, and then he can use time travel to, well, make them free, basically. Kind of cool. And then we have Propaganda. That's nice. And that's the one where the Master is trying to take over as Prime Minister as Andrew Saxon, I believe. Uncommon. Then we have the Third Doctor. Third Doctor was fine. So the Third Doctor basically was stuck on Earth after being, I think, condemned or punished by the Time Lords. That made his TARDIS inactive. So he basically was stuck on Earth, and that's where we get introduced to UNIT for the first time. And he stays on as UNIT's basically permanent scientific advisor. UNIT are basically, for those of you who know nothing about Doctor Who, UNIT are basically the military organization in charge of dealing with extraterrestrial and strange matters. Martha Jones. So I'm going to be a bit controversial here, and I'm not sorry for it. Martha Jones is one of my favourite companions. So Martha Jones and Ace are one of my favourite companions. Martha Jones is awesome. She doesn't sit back, she doesn't scream, she doesn't get captured. Yes, I know there's a large number of them who don't do that. But Martha Jones to me always seemed proactive and was always ready with a quip and to basically smack the Doctor upside the head when he was wrong. So I love Martha Jones. This card, I feel, has done her a great disservice. So she's a 3/2, which is nice. 3/2 for 3, which is nice. But my issue is that when she comes into the battlefield, she investigates. And then whenever you sacrifice a clue, Martha Jones and up to one other target creature can't be blocked this turn. Sacrificing a clue so she can't be blocked, so she and something else can't be blocked. That's nice. But what annoys me is that when she enters the battlefield, she investigates, and that's it. Sort of seems to me that she should be better. I mean, they've even called her the woman who walked the earth. Yes, that was after she met the Doctor, and it's after she left the Doctor that she became the woman who walked the earth. But she did a lot with the Doctor, so it sort of seems to me that either she should be pumping out clues, considering all the investigating and all the sciencey stuff that she actually did, and maybe even just remove the second one, or maybe make it so whenever you draw a card from a clue, make it a bit more restrictive. But just, she needs to be doing more, especially since this is a commander set. She sort of feels like she enters the battle, a one and done deal where she enters the battlefield and then you forget she exists. So it really hurts me seeing her like this. I'm sure people will probably point out edge cases, but I feel that she should be doing just a bit more. Even Tegan does a bit more. And we'll get to that if we see her. And then we have Osgood, Operation Double, which is fantastic and so flavorful. And yes, it's Surge Foil. But it's so flavorful because when she comes into the battlefield, when you cast it. Oh, it's on cast. Okay, I didn't realize that. But when you cast it, you create a token that's a copy exactly of Osgood, which is great because it's so good. Because she showed up in one of the penultimate episodes or something. where she was dealing... Oh, no, she showed up in the 50th anniversary. God, really? Oh, wow. She showed up in the 50th anniversary where they were dealing with the Zygon problem. And that was the one where we had Matt Smith and Tennant interact with each other, which was fun to see. She was a fairly endearing character, and clearly a fan of the Fourth Doctor. I don't know what you mean. Would you like a jelly baby? And then we have the standard, the one that everyone quotes, even though they've never seen Doctor Who, which is to reverse the polarity of the neutron flow, sorry. But yeah, it's sort of seeing, like, he hardly ever does it, but everyone quotes it as being a quick shorthand of, yes, I did the thing, and now it does the opposite thing, which is not how most engineering works, but still, it's fun, and it's silly. Now we have the alternate art Foreboding Ruins. Ooh. Oh, and it's got Sally Sparrow, which means that this is from the Blink episode with... Okay, that's cool. That is indeed some Foreboding Ruins. Ah, cyber conversion. Turn target creature face down. It's a 2/2 Cyberman artifact creature. I love it. It's kind of sad that it doesn't do it more, but for 2, and it turns something into a 2/2, I love it. It's so good. It's so flavorful. It's good removal. It's flavorful, and if only there were more Cybermen cards to support the Cybermen typle, that would be so good. Alas, we take what we've got. Another Vine Glimmer Snarl, this time not Surge Foil, but we do have a Surge Foil River Song, which is so funny because she's got an ability called Meet in Reverse, which means that you're drawing cards from the bottom of your library rather than the top. And then, of course, whenever an opponent searches, scries, or surveils, you put a +1/+1. So it's kind of cool. And yes, I do hate the reveal about Riversong being a Time Lord. No, sorry, let me scratch that. So I do hate the reveal that Riversong is Amy and Rory's child. I mean, spoilers. I should probably put spoilers up. Because there are spoilers all throughout this. Being Rory and Amy's child, that was fine, but the fact that that Riversong is a Time Lord because she was conceived near the heart of the TARDIS is a huge stretch. I mean, I'm glad that they've sort of, not really retconned, but they've clarified that it was also because she was experimented on with Time Lord DNA to make her a Time Lord. But still, it's one of those things where it's like, but that's fine. I can live with it, unlike the Timeless Child. I can't live with that. That's so... Grasp of Fate. Again, alternate art. It's nice, but it's also really sad because that's where the 10th Doctor leaves Rose in an alternate universe with a version of him who's pretty much human. Then it's revealed that he ends up like running off and dying or something like that. Can't remember. Because we see her again at the Battle of Canary Wharf. Danny Pink. Nice to see Danny get a card. There are a couple of companions who didn't get cards, from what I recall. Like, I suppose Harry Sullivan, just to name one. But he didn't last long. So that's right. Yay! A TARDIS version of a Dalek Squadron. Exterminate! Such a classic Doctor Who villain. Love it. And since we seem to be rolling in the 11th Doctor, why not get a foil TARDIS variant of the 11th Doctor, with his feathers are cool. I love the sort of cartoony aspect that they got going. It's very cool. It's a very sort of Saturday morning cartoon. And then, of course, we have our human token, which is none other than a young pond. And on the back is fish fingers and mustard. Ugh. Ugh. I mean, I get that was quirky and all that, but no fish fingers with my no mustard with my fish fingers, I should probably say. Going through, we have the 8th Doctor, as he's about to turn into none other than the War Doctor. Paul McGann, known as the longest and shortest Doctor, because he was the Doctor for the shortest time, only in the movie, the official movie, I should add. But also he was, for the longest time, which was, I think, over a decade, he was the latest Doctor. Until, of course, the 9th Doctor, Christopher Eccleston. We have Master Mesmerist, which should be, an alternate variant, well, the original of the one we had previously. Which is nice. So now we have sagas. Now, I think I have to give praise to Gavin Vahi, because the idea to make important episodes. So Doctor Who was told, Doctor Who was known as a serial in that each episode was only half an hour long, but 4 episodes made technically 1 episode. So what he's done here is he's made the pivotal episode of each individual Doctor's life and turned it into a saga. So you got the Trial of the Time Lord, you'll have Day of the Doctor, things like that. So like really pivotal episodes in the life of each of the Doctors, and turned it into a saga. And I suppose the fact that most of them go on for 4 is very funny, because each of them was usually 4 episodes, sometimes 6, sometimes 2. But I really like that. And the Adipose. That was a strange episode, but pretty much on par for Doctor Who. Because those of you who don't know, adipose basically is the fat, the unused fat on your stomach and things like that. So the episode was basically about the fat, about aliens made out of that kind of fat, who developed a weight loss drug, which basically turned the fat in people's bodies into aliens, who would then come out and just go back to their parents. It was so strange and so weird, but very Doctor Who. Search for Tomorrow. Classic green card for fetching lands. And I do believe that this is reference to the Timeless Child, so we're going to ignore that. The Trenzalore Clock Tower. It's nice to see more clock towers in Magic. But that also was a pretty good episode. That was when the 11th Doctor became the 12th, kind of. The Battle for Trenzalore. Fiery Islet. It's actually... Okay. While I don't necessarily agree with some of the art, with the episodes depicted in the art for some of the cards, first things first, I think it's fantastic that we are reprinting these cards, because the Pain lands that sacrifice to draw a card, fantastic. Need more of those. Why don't I agree with the art? Because this one doesn't really have much to do with being a fiery islet. This is more this is the 13th Doctor. And this is the one with I think it's Daleks. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's with the Dalek, time ships, and they're trying to take over the Earth before the Doctor could come back. The the whole sort of Flux thing is very confusing and doesn't make much sense. But it's good to see it is reprinted. Me the Immortal. I have several issues. We're going to ignore Me for the time being because I really hated how, like, the Doctor... Okay, so the Doctor ended up giving a character called Ashilda life. Basically, through him, he gave the character Ashilda basically immortality. She could die, but if she was stabbed, if I recall, and things like that, but it would have to be like blowing up her head, because like if she was stabbed just a little bit, the nanites inside her would heal her, all that kind of stuff. But she was basically immortal. But what annoyed me is she was introduced as being a cocky girl, which is fine. But then towards the end of the series, when we interacted with her for like the third time, she was this holier than thou, I am smarter than you, Doctor, and all that kind of stuff. It's like, no, you can't do that. And then she realized that actually the Doctor was smarter than her because he'd been around and done stuff. Anyway, I don't like her character. The actress Maisie Williams is great. The card is fantastic. It's basically a variant of one of my first commanders ever, which is Skullbriar, the Walking Grave, which is token stick on it. It's great. And at the beginning of your turn, even though I don't like the character, I kind of am tempted to make a deck, but I just don't like the character. I feel that she was either poorly written, underutilized, or was just... I don't know what they were doing with her. I don't like her character, sorry. Foiled Fiery Islet. Hey, Sarah Jane Smith. In Search Foil. Can't really speak much to Sarah Jane Smith. She was a good companion. Whenever you cast a historic spell, Investigate, she's one of the... Pardon me. She's one of the... So she's one of the face cards on the old Doctor Who, on the old Doctor deck, along with the Fourth Doctor. So nice to see her. Then we have Out of Time. When it enters the battlefield, untap all creatures, then face those creatures out for as long as untime. Yep, cool. So it's basically a protection sort of thing. Or possibly getting rid of an opponent's creatures. And then you get to do stuff. And it has Vanishing, which means... So Vanishing is interesting in that it's a very old mechanic, but works with the time counters that we usually see with Suspend cards. So Suspend, if you don't know, is basically... an alternate cost that you can pay for, and you exile a card with that many time counters on it. So Suspend 3 means that you exile it with 3 time counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, you remove one of the time counters. And then when it's at 0, you get to cast it for free. Yes, it's a cast, so you can counter it. Vanishing is the same thing, except for it's on the battlefield. It starts with time counters on it. And then, again, you remove one at the beginning. So Timey-Wimey works well with them because it can speed up Suspend cards, but it can keep Vanishing cards on the field indefinitely, as long as you can do it. So that's why it's kind of cool. Yeah. Sunken Hollow. We're getting a lot of reprints of Sunken Hollow. And this is Search Foil, so kudos. We have a Weeping Angel. Nice. In the TARDIS art. I like this. This is good. Actually, both arts of the Weeping Angel are cool. The first one, which is the original that we saw before, is nice in that it's big and imposing. Whereas this is nice because it's traditionally how they look. Ah! Serge Foyle alternate art Sarah Jane Smith. Again, I really like the sort of cartoony thing that they got going on. It's very cool. I love it. And then, of course, we have a Judoon. An alien rhino. Yes. On the other side, we have a Cyberman. You will be deleted. There is logic in what he says. Next, we have planes. And we have the Sixth Doctor. Sixth Doctor was a fun one. I suppose you could say that was when he was leaning more into the quirks of the Fourth Doctor, being sort of eccentric rather than quirky. Because the Fifth Doctor... So the Fourth Doctor was like... Third Doctor was very serious. Fourth Doctor was less serious, but was like had mild quirks. Then all the quirks went into the Fifth Doctor, and then the Sixth Doctor was very sort of... Let's just say that Tennant took a lot of notes from the Sixth and Fourth Doctor, and then when he was being serious, took notes from the Seventh Doctor. Anyway, this is towards the end of the run, because the Seventh Doctor was the last Doctor we had before we had the movie, and then we had nothing. Again, a sunken hollow. Displaced dinosaurs. That's from the Third Doctor's run, which is great, where we had literal toy dinosaurs. I know they weren't supposed to be toys, but, animation and effects back then weren't as good because we didn't have as readily access to as powerful computers as we did, but still, you had, like, toy dinosaurs stomping their way through London, which was very funny. Rotating fireplace. Now, I haven't been able to confirm this, but I'm very, 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 very sure that this is from the Girl in the Fireplace episode. So it's nice to see that because it's considered one of the keystone... it's considered one of the key episodes of the 10th Doctor, is the Girl in the Fireplace. But it's really cool with the Serge Foyle. Another fiery islet. Okay, this is getting a bit much, guys. Another Sisterhood of Khan. A creeping tar pit. Nice. I can't remember what this art is from. It's got a Dalek there. So, it could be from... Oh, I think that's the Brain of Morbius. Right. Reverse the polarity in foil. Celestial colonnade. Not too sure about this one. I can't remember the episode. You gotta remember, it's been a while. I've only just started re-watching them again. So, I'm like slowly getting there. Bill Potts. I liked Bill Potts. She was cool. Again, one of those who was short-lived. Sad, but I liked Bill. Bill was cool. Thespian stage. That's nice, because he's met Shakespeare a couple of times. So, Thespian stage. It's nice. It's actually really nice to see Thespian stage get a reprint. I will say that. Desolate Lighthouse. Yep. That's actually pretty cool. That's the one with the Fugitive Doctor, if I recall. And then, of course, we have the Fifth Doctor. Oh, Mystic Celery. Okay, that's interesting. But yeah, Fifth Doctor, a lot of people really liked him in the Cricketing Whites. Again, I keep pointing it out, but the cartoony aspect is really kind of nice. And hey, we have a TARDIS variant, TARDIS, of which I really do like the fact that it's the TARDIS, but the door, like the they've incorporated the exterior design with the interior design. So it is kind of cool. And if you look inside, you can see that it looks vaguely similar to, I believe, it's the fourths. Wait, no. Can't tell. Might be the fourth or ninth. But that's really cool, and that's foil. And then, of course, we have an angel and an alien insect, which is pumped out by one of the aliens that is in the old Doctor deck, which I think is a bit strange because I recall them being an enemy rather than an ally. Surgifoil Forest. The Fifth Doctor. Okay, I guess it's the Fifth Doctor's turn to shop. Snuff Out. Great to see a reprint of Snuff Out. Also, very strange episode because I still haven't quite worked out why they wanted to help people by killing them, but yeah. I keep saying that, but Doctor Who is strange by default. But it wasn't a bad episode. Gallifrey Council Chamber. This is great because this is so, like, it's a classic Doctor Who location, and it also is great because when it enters because you can use it to cast to basically fill the mana curve. So it's always good to see that. It's like a path of ancestry for Time Lords. So it's actually really cool. Myriad Landscape, nice to see a reprint. Into the Time Vortex, which is good. It's got Cascade and Rebound, which I believe there was one other card that had Cascade and Rebound, whose I've temporarily forgotten, but it must be a relatively new card because I keep playing it in one of my decks on Arena. I can't remember. I think it costs about the same as well. So there's two of those now. That's cool. Davros, the Dalek creator. So, while I don't like Davros as a character, I don't like Davros because I don't like Davros. Davros as a character is interesting, nuanced, well, less nuanced. It's basically Hitler, but for the scientific elite. It was, like, he's not bad. The card itself, I don't particularly like. Yes, he has Menace, which is great. But it basically only creates a Dalek as long as your opponent lost 3 or more life. Which means that when he comes out, you kind of want to start lightning bolt people and things like that. Just so you can create a Dalek. And then he makes you face a villainous choice where either I draw a card or the opponent discards a card. He's also the face card for the villain deck. But, yeah. Carpet of Flowers, which is actually, I believe, a nice reprint. Where it just produces mana based on how many islands an opponent has. Stick it there. Rose! We finally have Rose, who gets stuck with our 9th and 10th Doctors. She's not a bad card. Solemn Simulacrum. It's good. I mean, it's a staple in Commander. And being how it's one of the helper droid things from the from the hospital episode, kind of good. I also do like how it's like Solemn Simulacrum, but it's like literally the only one there and there's nothing else around it. Very nice. Then we have Jenny, the the Time Lord's daughter, which, if you don't know already, everyone loves pointing out. So David Tennant was a big fan of Doctor Who, particularly the Fifth Doctor, Peter Davison. Now, David Tennant went on to become the 10th Doctor. And in one episode, he acted with Jenny, who is Peter Davison's daughter. So she is literally the daughter of the Fifth Doctor. David Tennant went on to marry her. So the Doctor's daughter became the Doctor's wife, and the Fifth Doctor became the 10th Doctor's father-in-law, which is very, very funny, and a lot of people love pointing it out that David Tennant loved the Fifth Doctor so much he married her daughter. He married his daughter. But aside from that, Jenny actually isn't a bad card. She's 4 for a 2/3 with double strike, which is great. And whenever deals combat damage to a player, she explores. Which is basically you reveal the top card, and if it's a land, you get to put it onto the battlefield. Tapped, I believe. But yes, and in the episode, they took an extract from the 10th Doctor and made a female clone of him. And he was unsure whether or not she inherited any of the Time Lord regeneration. Unbeknownst to him, because he left before he could verify, turns out that she did, and she healed herself and then proceeded to exit the galaxy. Exit the planet and go on to explore. And a lot of people really thought that it was a backdoor pilot to a different series. No, it wasn't. Apparently, it wasn't intended to be a backdoor pilot. Jenny is very popular, but apparently not popular enough to get a series around her, which is kind of sad. Another Temple of Mystery. Run for your life, because the Doctor, the 9th and 10th, were very fond of running. And then we have probably the master I like the best, because I felt that he was constantly trying to undermine, but his schemes, while over the top and grandiose and worked, were also very strange and seemed to focus mainly on some sort of weird relationship with the Doctor, where it came to be that it's almost like he loved the Doctor, where we'd sort of explored that with Missy. But anyway, we have Master Gallifrey's End, which is the antithesis to the 13th Doctor. Oh, we have two. Wow, okay. Would have worked better if we had the one who was Saxon like this. But this is also very good. So we got Master Gallifrey's End in regular and foil in the TARDIS variant. And then we have an adipose alien along with Osgood, the double. Now I'm going to try and speed it up a bit. So we have Swamp. Hey! We have the 4th Doctor! Would he like a jelly baby? Look, I love the 4th Doctor. I hate this card. It doesn't do anything. All the other Doctors do something, but all the 4th Doctor does is he looks at the top card of the library at any time, and then once each turn, you can play a historic land or cast a historic spell from the top of your library. When you do, you create a jelly baby. But you don't. But, food doesn't really affect anything in the Doctor Who stuff. And even a food-based deck is... we got a few food-based decks that we could make in Commander from Eldraine, but still, it's a bit iffy about food-based decks. So it's kind of sad. We have a cyber ship, which is how the Cybermen trapeze across the galaxy. A glacial fortress, which is kind of cool. We have Gallifrey Falls and No More. So it becomes Gallifrey Falls No More. So these are one of the fuse cards, which means that you can pay both costs and you get to cast both of them. But other than that, it's nice to see Fuse make its way back. Rootbound Crag. Sorry. Battlefield unless you control. Then we have the Valeyard. Now the Valeyard was an interesting thing. I believe that was the trial of the Doctor. And it turns out that the Valeyard, who was basically saying that the Doctor needed to be killed, was supposed to... So the Valeyard, I believe, was supposed to be the very last incarnation of the Doctor, who had no more lives left. But then they soft retconned it, so it was actually not the last Doctor who wanted to extend his life, but rather all the evil parts of the Doctor. So the Doctor obviously has a capacity for evil as much as good, but tends towards good. But I believe the Master took all the parts from all the past and future regenerations of the Doctor and extracted the evil parts of him and into this sort of Time Lord called the Valeyard, who wanted to kill the Doctor so he could take the remaining life, so then he could effectively be an actual Time Lord. Other than that, his whole thing is voting because he's a lawyer. Another Thespian stage. Ooh, a foil Gallifrey Council chamber. A Sungrass Prairie, which is good. Adric, the mathematical genius. I like him. He's fine. Pay 3 to copy activated or triggered ability and choose new targets, and you can pay 2 to sacrifice him to counter. Not much to say. Hey, Stormcarved Coast. Nice. And the classic Doctor Who Sonic Screwdriver. Cost 3, you can tap to add mana of any colour. Yep. Untap another artifact, scry, or it can't be blocked. Yep. Perfect. Exactly what it should do, and exactly what it does. Then we have the Master Multiplied. So this is the Saxon Master. Basically, he does what he wants to. He is Myriad, and basically that means that whenever he attacks, for each opponent that he's not attacking, you create a token. Usually for a legendary creature, it would mean that you have to choose one. But he says that the legend rule doesn't apply, so it gets to stick. So that means that you can have the tokens. But then it says triggered abilities you control that cause you to sacrifice or exile creature tokens you control can't happen. So basically Myriad says that you create a token and then you sacrifice it at the end of your turn. Except for this stops that, which means that you basically keep creating tokens. It's really kind of ingenious and cool and makes so much sense. And then we have another master. That's really interesting. We keep getting masters. Then we have a warrior and a dinosaur. Because everybody wants the dinosaur. You can probably hear the packs being opened. So we've got an island. The wonderful 7th Doctor. Now unlike the rest of the Doctors, I believe that Sylvester McCoy actually had a fair amount of control over what his Doctor did, which means that he got to dictate how the Doctor did things. And he was very, very, very much against violence, like himself. Which means that the Seventh Doctor is considered one of the most interesting and one of the more popular Doctors because he didn't need to do anything other than to outwit and outsmart. And his card reflects that by basically forcing an opponent to guess the mana value, and if they're wrong, you get to cast it for free. But if they're right, you get to investigate. So he's actually, like, this is one of those things where I actually think it should be a mythic because that is a really powerful, really cool ability, especially if you've got things that mess around with mana values. There aren't many, but still. And it leads you to a whole bluffing game that the Seventh Doctor is very popular for. Thriving More, great to see that these get reprints outside of the Jumpstart, because I still think that these are great cards, even for non-Jumpstart decks. Unearthly Child, the first Doctor's first episode ever. Unearthly Child is the very first one, and it's where we meet the first Doctor and his granddaughter Susan. It's very good. Grasp of Fate again. Frostboil Snarl. Flesh Duplicate. So, this is considered an infamous episode because even with all our excellent technology and everything, this is considered one of the worst episodes. Because the CG was so poor, the plot was very thin, it was generally not a good episode. The card itself is actually quite good. Creates a duplicate with Vanishing, and with Timey-Wimey it means that you can make sure that it sticks around. Sundown Pass. Hey, Joe Grant. Doctor's Companion. Quite a good one. Sundown Pass, again. Ensnared by the Mara. Again with the Villainous Choice. It's not a bad card in Surge Foil too, which is great. Shadowblood Ridge, which is Demon's Run in Surge Foil. The Lunar Hatchling, where they turns out that the moon is actually an egg for an alien, but at the same time in the future we also still have a moon. That was an odd episode. The Sixth Doctor in TARDIS format. Woo! And he looks positively, happy but also annoyed, which is actually the Sixth Doctor, who was frequently annoyed at things but also happy at things. Weeping Angel foil, and of course we have a horse. And an alien salamander. Woo! I believe that's one of the what's it called? The pirate salamanders? Can't remember what they're called. And we have the 12th Doctor, Peter Capaldi, with his signature guitar. And of course he has Demonstrate because he started as a sort of professor and used that as a home base, except for he only came back a couple of times. Another Time Reaper, more Displaced Dinosaurs in Surge Foil. Irrigated Farmland, which is the cycling lands. Hey, so they are putting the talismans in here. I was hoping they would. Talisman of Impulse, because oddly enough, despite everything, the 12th Doctor was very impulsive. It's nice. And then, of course, For Once, Everybody Lives. That was a really good episode. That was a two-parter with the 9th Doctor, introduced Captain Jack Harkness. It was It was a very good episode. It was equally creepy and hopeful. I loved it. Grasp of Fate. Yep. A Dalek drone with Exterminate. Love it. And it has flying. Ha ha ha, that's even better. Another Desolate Lighthouse. Another Sisterhood of Khan in Search Foil. An Irrigated Farmland in Search Foil. Exotic Orchard in Search Foil. So many Search Foils. And would you look at that? We have the 10th Doctor. In TARDIS form. Excellent. And a foil Sarah Jane Smith. Awesome. And a regular horse and clue. Sorry, I was laughing at Horse and Clue. It sounds like a pub name. Welcome to the Horse and Clue. How can we serve you? Planes. Third Doctor. Another Search Foil Exotic Orchard. A Mind Stone, which is where they get one of the Cybermen heads and they hack it. Which is excellent. It's great. Cool. A foil 10th Doctor. Again. Throes of Chaos. Actually, I think that might be the one that I kept using because it's got Cascade and Retrace as well. Excellent. Cool. Another Jenny. Drowned Catacomb. River Song again. Temple of Abandon. That's very nice. Whoa, she looks so cool. Okay. So this is Jenny Flint and Madame Vastra, who are known as the Paternostra Gang, along with Strax. I could go on and on, but I just want to say that I think that it's fantastic, because you have Madame Vastra, who works fantastic by herself, but even better with Jenny Flint, and Jenny Flint, who works fantastic with Madame Vastra, but she's pretty good on her own. And I love it. I think it's great, and I'm currently in the process of building a deck around the two of them, because I'm so happy. Wound Reflection. Yep, that's pretty good, because that's when the Missy tries to kill the Master, Master tries to kill the Missy. It's weird, but cool. And also, it's an enchantment that probably needs to exist again. In other words, be reprinted. Fortified Village, that's Trenzalore. Hey, a TARDIS version of Yasmin Khan. Yeah, this was kind of cool. I liked it. Hey, and TARDIS version foil of River Song. Nice. And then another Dalek. And a Beast. Now we're getting down to our last few episodes. Getting down to our last few episodes of packs. So we have an island. The 11th Hour, which is where we meet the 11th Doctor in Search Foil. Haunted Ridge. Romana. Not Romana 1, but Romana 2. So Romana was a Time Lord that ended up regenerating when the actress left. I can't remember why the actress left. I think she was annoyed at something. But she left and they replaced her, and so we have Romana 2. Reprint of Lightning Greaves, much needed. Staple. Graham O'Brien, I liked him. I liked how he was like the one who was constantly pointing out some of the stupid things. I liked him a lot. The Flood of Mars was weird because it had like water that possessed people. It was strange. And didn't really resolve much. Temple of Enlightenment. I believe that's the hospital where they cured pretty much everything. Yay! Alright. Clara Oswald. I liked her. I thought she was a lot of fun. I don't like how they sort of killed her off. But I do like the fact that they made her colourless. And you get to pick a colour. She's got a Doctor's Companion, and whenever a Doctor's ability triggers, it triggers an additional time. It feels very positively Clara and very good. I really like it. And it's in foil, which is cool. Chaos Warp, which is fine. Surge foil of Trenzalore Clock Tower, of Shipwreck Marsh, which is kind of funny because of the shipwreck. Perry Brown! Oh, that's a very lifelike painting. It's very cool. Convoke is fine. TARDIS version of the 12th Doctor. Very cool. And a foil version of the 4th Doctor. Very cool. A warrior and a dinosaur surge foil token. I'm actually really happy because I'm trying to build a 4th Doctor deck. Yes, okay. If you don't follow me on Twitter, X, formerly Twitter, I'm currently engaged in building 5 different Doctor Who decks because I love Doctor Who, but also a lot of them really sort of speak to me in please make me a deck. We have the 13th Doctor. Now, okay. I have a weird opinion on the 13th Doctor. I don't like the 13th Doctor. I don't like the 13th Doctor's episodes, how they wrote her, what they did with her. I felt it was not good. It sort of felt like they were capitalizing on the fact that she was female rather than writing Doctor Who episodes. Because there are a number of feminist Doctor Who episodes, but it felt like they felt that they had to write a whole bunch of Doctor Who episodes just because she was female. Jodie Whittaker as the 13th Doctor and the 13th Doctor themselves, separate from each of the episodes that they appeared in, I think that she was very good. She had that same sort of chaotic energy that the 11th had. Very close to the 11th, where she was all over the place. But she also had a lot of the compassion that the 9th and the 10th Doctor had. Rather than the standoffishness that the 12th had. So I actually kind of liked her. I just felt that the episodes that they wrote for her were, to be honest, crap. Lava Claw Reach, Scattered Grooves, another rotating fireplace, which is great. The 12th Doctor, so we have the 12th and 13th in a pack. The Toymaker's Trap. That's from one of the lost episodes, I believe, because the Celestial Toymaker, we only have 1 or 2 of the 4-part episodes. So that's actually kind of cool, especially since the Celestial Toymaker's making a comeback in the form of Neil Patrick Harris. Overgrown Farmland, another Weeping Angel, a Blasphemous Act, where you see the ruins of Gallifrey, of which we don't know how Gallifrey was destroyed, only that the Master apparently claims that he did it, and that there's no one left. But again, the Master lies all the time, so... Surge Foil 12th Doctor, Surge Foils Sungrass Prairie. Hey, Skycloud Expanse. Nice. TARDIS variant of the 7th Doctor. Very good. And I don't want to call it anime, but it's very sort of Lorcana, Disney animation type anime. Art of Rosella. I kind of like it. Then we have a copy, of which we can see a Dalek, a Cyberman, a Zygon, a human, and of course, a Weeping Angel. And on the back we have a Cyberman. And then of course, lucky last, we have a Forest, the 2nd Doctor, feed the swarm. Which is pretty apt, because I believe that this and the other character were known as the Swarm. So, I thought that was kind of good. The Caves of Androzani. Which is the saga for the 5th Doctor. Fury Calm Snarl, which is one of those snarls. Surge of Brilliance, I believe that's Tesla. Adric. Oops. Jumping ahead. Another Snarl. Nissa of Traken. Another Snarl. The Moment. Now, I thought that this was actually not a bad episode, especially since we got to see Rose Tyler and how the War Doctor was, like, really sort of struggling with what he had to do and what he knew he had to do, but whether or not he should still do it. I really like the episode. And the Moment itself as a card is actually pretty cool. Surge Foil of Rootbound Crag. Of Canopy Vista. We have a TARDIS. And of course the last TARDIS variant we have for the box is the 12th Doctor. Oh shit, it's a serialized 12th Doctor. Well, congrats people. This is my first serial card, and it's the 12th Doctor, which, let's be honest, I'd be happy with any serialized card. Wow. Nice. So with that, I think that's a wonderful thing to end on. So with that, if you care about the token, it's a soldier and a food. But with that and a Surge Foil, I want to say thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you next time.